Welcome to the Videography University podcast. This is the podcast to listen to if you have ambitions of turning your passion for videography into a full-time career and a six-figure income. My name's Grant Burks. I'm the host of this podcast. I run my own video production business based out of Columbus, Ohio. Built it up to the point to now we average typically around $40,000 per month in revenue. In addition to that, I am also the author of a book called Film to Freedom. This is the book for learning how to turn your passion for videography into a full-time career and a six-figure income. In today's podcast, we are going to be talking about the hot topic of when should you purchase that new shiny piece of gear that you have been doing research upon, staying up late at night, checking it out, watching YouTube video after YouTube video on it. When should you purchase that piece of gear? So there's 3 rules of thumb that I like to adhere to when debating, should I pull the trigger on this purchase or not? First, I want to tell you a story of a time when I saw this new piece of gear that a company had released. I was really excited about it. I pulled the trigger on it, and it was a smart decision. And then I want to tell you about another time when I was fantasizing about this new lens that I just fell in love with, and I wanted it. And I almost pulled the trigger on it, and it would have been a terrible decision for me. So to start off, let me lay the foundation for you here. I had an inquiry for a project. It was a brand video for a steel processing company. The company was looking for a video that they could show to potential new recruits that would demonstrate to them what the job looked like, the ins and outs of the job, so that they could envision themselves in the role. And ideally, the goal was to make their recruiting efforts easier. We did some pre-production planning for this project, figured out, okay, what kind of shots do we want to get? What's really going to showcase the role and help people see themselves in this role? We decided that we wanted to really highlight the plant. The plant itself it's huge, and that was kind of a big selling point of the role, was working for this company, large company. There's safety in it, security in it. You're getting to work on some pretty cool things as well. So we wanted to highlight the scope and the scale of the actual steel processing plant. In order to do this, we had the idea of getting some drone footage inside of the plant. Well, at the time, I had a couple different drones, but all of them had, none of them were really meant for flying indoors. They all had exposed props, which can be really dangerous when you're flying indoors, particularly when you're flying indoors around a bunch of people. So in order to get this shot, I thought the safest and the necessary way to do it was going to be to get a drone with protected props. So it had some sort of prop guard around the props. They had just come out with the DJI Avata, and that looked like the perfect fit for this type of project, or just capturing that one unique shot within this type of project. So I did some research, looked up how much it was. Did some more research, seeing the specs and if it was going to be the right tool for the job. Turned out it looked like it was going to have everything that we needed for this shot, and it cost around $1,000 at the time. So this project was roughly $4,500. So at that point, I said to myself, okay, I think it makes sense to pick up this new piece of gear. This is a shot they really want within this video, and in order to get it, I'm going to need this new piece of equipment to capture it. So I pulled the trigger on it, and I figured I could probably use this for additional projects in the future as well. Pulled the trigger on it, got the shot that we needed, turned out great, and it's been awesome having that piece of gear in my back pocket for any future projects that I needed as well. In addition, it's a fun drone to fly around too, so I've had a lot of fun with it. So that was a situation in which it made sense for me to make that purchase. In order to get that shot for that project, I needed to purchase that piece of equipment, and the equipment it fit within the scope of the budget that I had for the project, so I could still pick it up and make a decent amount of profit off of the project. Okay, now let's take a look at a time when I almost pulled the trigger on a lens that would have made 0 sense for me and my business at the time. So this company by the name of Laowa came out with this incredible new lens. You've probably seen it. It was the Laowa probe lens. Such a cool lens. You can get these really unique shots with it. It's you may have seen YouTube videos where they'll go inside of different items. You can go like inside of cans. The lens is it's tiny. The width of it's about the size of a dime, and it has a really long extended barrel. I'm not sure exactly how long it is, but it's probably about maybe a foot and a half in length. So you can get these cool shots where I've seen shots where they're going inside of bottles. You can run it across the pages of a book, and I'm just going to link a YouTube video in the description below that you can check out to see some cool shots from this lens. Well, I was enamored by this lens. I thought it was so cool. These unique shots that you could get, it was like unlike anything I had ever seen before. And I was just watching so many YouTube videos on this lens. Well, at the time, I was just getting started in my videography business. I hadn't quite gone full-time with it. I was about 6 months out from the point where I went full-time. I was working on saving up my safety fund that I could use where if I wasn't getting any projects in, then I could still put money into our personal checking account at the time. So I was working on saving and also trying to book new projects, and I had no need whatsoever for this lens. There were no projects where it was going to come in handy at the time, and it was about $1,500 at the time, which was a lot of money for me. I think I probably had my credit card information entered into the checkout page at one point, and then I fortunately had the realization. Some higher power spoke to me and said, Grant, this makes no sense. You do not need this lens. So I did not pull the trigger on it. But had I pulled the trigger on it, I would have had a lens that I maybe would have messed around with a little bit and gotten some cool shots. Didn't need it for any projects. Then it would have just sat on my shelf collecting dust for months to come. And it would have put me out $1,500 when at that point in time, $1,500 was a lot of money to me. Now where I'm at with my business, if I wanted to pull the trigger on a fun item like that, sure, I could do it. But at that point in time, it did not make sense, and it would have put me in a challenging situation with finances and would have set me back on reaching my savings goal for going full-time with my business. So that is a situation in which it would have been a terrible decision for me to pull the trigger on a nice, new, shiny piece of gear. So there are 3 rules that I like to adhere to when deciding whether it's going to make sense for me to make that new purchase or whether I should hold off on that purchase and continue saving my money. Rule number 1 is not purchasing that piece of equipment going to lose me money. So if I don't purchase that piece of gear, is it going to lose me money for the project? Well, in the first scenario, I had the DJI Avata that I knew I was going to need if I was going to be able to capture this project to the degree which the client was hoping. We had actually laid out the groundwork beforehand of the different shots that we could get for the project, and that was one that really enticed them and really resulted in them choosing me for capturing that project. So I knew going in, if I was going to shoot this project, I was going to have to pick up this piece of gear. I built that into the budget of the project a little bit, and ultimately it made sense for me to purchase it. Had I not purchased it, I wouldn't have been able to get that shot. So rule number 1 is not purchasing that piece of gear going to lose you money. Was purchasing the Laowa lens going to lose me money through another project? No, I had no projects where it was going to help me out. Instead, I was just going to be out that $1,500 and it wasn't going to be making me any money. First rule is not purchasing it going to lose you money. Second rule, is it going to unlock a new opportunity for you? If there's an immediate project that you know you would need that piece of gear for, maybe you haven't booked it yet, maybe you're not in talks for it yet, but you know you want to branch out into this new niche of videography. And you've done your research, you know it's a profitable niche, you know that you could break into it if you just had this one piece of equipment. Then in that case, it makes sense for you to purchase that piece of gear, depending on the price, obviously. But if it's within your means to purchase it and you think it's going to unlock a new type of client, new type of project for you, then yes, I would say it makes sense to purchase that piece of gear. Now, don't fool yourself with this one. You can always say, yeah, this lens is going to help me book a ton of new stuff. I can see this coming in handy here, 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 and here. You need to be honest with yourself, or you looking at it from that perspective because you really just want to purchase it for fun and you really want to have it and you're getting that bright, shiny object syndrome? Or do you truly think that it's going to help you grow your business in the very immediate future? So be honest with yourself with that rule. But rule number 2, is it going to unlock a new opportunity for you? Rule number 3, have you saved up a 6-month buffer for your business and do you have extra funds? Now, this one is critical, and I don't think a lot of videographers think of this, but this was something that was very important to me and I focused on diligently before I made the jump to going full-time with my videography business. I knew before I went full-time, I wanted to have at least 6 months of my salary from my 9-to-5 saved up. So what I was making from my salary, I wanted to have that amount saved up from my videography work. I wanted to do a year's worth just to be overly cautious. I think that is overly cautious. I think if you saved up 6 months of a buffer fund, then I think you're okay there. But that is going to be the biggest thing that is going to help you in your business. It's the biggest thing that's helped me in my business, saving up that amount of money. That way you are not stressing every week of how am I going to pay myself? How am I going to pay myself this week? I don't have any new projects coming in. You know, you have that buffer account where you can pull money to pay yourself out each week, even if you didn't have a new project coming in that week. So that should be your first focus, is saving up at least 6 months worth of whatever your expenses or whatever your whatever the amount of money is that you want to be able to pay into your account on a weekly basis. If that is going to set you back in that process of getting to that buffer account, then do not purchase the piece of gear. Okay, so don't purchase the piece of gear unless it is going to lose you money not purchasing it. It's not going to unlock a new opportunity for you. Or if you haven't yet saved up at least 6 months of your buffer account that you're going to have to pay yourself each week when you go full time. Those are the 3 rules that I adhere to when deciding if I should purchase a new piece of gear or not. Now, if you're looking to go full time with your videography business or turn it into a 6-figure income, then I highly recommend getting a free copy of my book, Film to Freedom, in the description below. That's right, I'm giving it to you completely for free just for listening to this episode. Just go to the description below, click the link, and you'll get a free copy in your inbox. With that, let me know what questions you have about videography, running a videography business. Let me know what topics you want to hear me go more in depth on. Leave them in the comments below or email me at grantburks@videography-university.com. With that, I'll see you in the next one.